All right, we're back here for part 2, so we've got 3 problems left, 8, 9, and 10. Now, I'm actually going to do number 10 first. On the front, what we just did was take the picture of the circle and write the equation. Well, number 10, let's take the equation and we'll graph the circle. So graph the equation x minus 3 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 9. You need 2 things. You need the center, you need the radius. Well, the center is the opposite of these coordinates, so it's positive 3, positive 1. The radius squared is 9, and you square root that, you get the radius is 3. So what we're going to do now to graph it, we're going to plot the center. The center is 3, 1, which is right here. Now the radius is 3. So from the center, I'm going to count 3 spaces to the right, 3 spaces to the left from the center. Up 3, down 3. And you see kind of the shape of the circle. Now I'm going to draw this. It may not be perfect. Actually, not too bad. So there's my circle right there. And again, there's infinite points on the circle, but the ones that I'm going to plot are where I go left, right, up, down. Okay, that's the easiest way to do it. All right, so let's go back to number 8 and see what they're asking us to do. What is the center of the circle if the endpoints of a diameter are negative 1, 4, and 3, 2? What is the radius of the circle? Well, what they're doing, I'm going to draw a circle here. They give you 2 points, and they tell you that those are the endpoints of the diameter. So the diameter, you know the diameter goes through the center, and it has both endpoints on the circle. Now this is not going to be a good, it's not an accurate drawing, but let's say that's negative 1, 4, and that's 3, 2. Okay, actually negative 1, 4 would be higher than 3, 2, but just for this sake, let's just go with this. If you want the center, that would be the midpoint of this diameter. So the midpoint formula is the average of the x's, x1 plus x2 over 2, comma, y1 plus y2 over 2. So it doesn't matter which of these, I'll make this x1, y1, negative 1, 4, and 3, 2, I'll make that x2, y2. And so to find the midpoint, we're going to add the x's, 3 plus negative 1 over 2. Since we're adding 2 numbers, to take the average, you divide by 2. The y value is 2 plus 4, all over 2. And what we get here, that's going to be 2 over 2, comma, 6 over 2. So what we get for the midpoint, which is our center, we get 1, comma, 4. Oh, 1, comma, 3, excuse me. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 6 divided by 2 is 3. 1, comma, 3. So there's your center. What is the center of the circle if the endpoints of a diameter are negative 1, 4, 3, 2? All right, here's your center. What is the radius of the circle? Well, to find the radius, you actually have a couple of options here. Since we now know the center, and we do have an endpoint, we have 2 endpoints actually, you could use the distance formula to find the radius. Take the distance between these points. What I'm going to do actually, which I think is a little bit easier, is to use the equation of the circle to do it. Now you're saying, but we don't know the equation, not fully. Well, we can do part of it though. If you know the center, we can set up the left side of the equation would be x minus 1 squared, it's the opposite of these, plus y minus 3 squared equals r squared. Now we don't know the r yet, that's what we're trying to figure out. But they do tell us 2 endpoints that are on the circle. Any points that are on the circle have to fit this equation and make it true. So what I'm going to do is take one of them. I'll take 3, 2. So I'm going to use 3, 2 for x and y. And I'm going to plug those into the equation. I'm going to substitute. So I get 3 minus 1 squared plus 2 minus 3 squared is equal to r squared. 3 minus 1 is 2, so that's 2 squared plus negative 1 squared equals r squared. 2 squared is 4. Negative 1 squared is 1. And what we get is 5 equals the radius squared. So if you want the radius, square root both sides, and the radius is square root 5. Okay, now that actually answers the question. What's the center? 1, 3. What is the radius? Square root 5. If I asked you to go one step further, though, and to actually say the equation, to write the equation, I'll call it EQ, well, we've got x minus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals the square root of 5 squared. Now when you square a square root, so square root of 5 squared actually makes that just 5. So it's equal to 5. That is the equation right there. So that's how you do that problem. So actually there was a lot of stuff we did here, midpoint formula. You don't need distance formula because you can use the equation of the circle, which is basically the distance formula but for circles. Alright, so let's do one more. Let's do 9. I would recommend that you stop the video, go ahead and try this yourself and see what you get. But I'm going to work it out right now. What is the center of the circle if the endpoints of a diameter are 8, 10 and 2, 2? What is the radius of the circle? Same problem we just did, different values. So again, what's happening, they give you the endpoints of the diameter are 2, 2 and 8, 10. Now the center is going to be the middle of that diameter. So we need to do the midpoint formula. Midpoint formula, let's add our x coordinates, 8 and 2, and divide that by 2. Let's add the y coordinates, 10 plus 2, divided by 2. And so we'll get 10 over 2, 12 over 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And that is your center, 5, 6. When you do midpoint formula, it's always going to be an ordered pair, x, y. So you don't add these, you don't combine these, you just leave them something, something. There's the center. They also say, what is the radius of the circle? Well, now that you know the center, we can figure out the radius. Let's use the equation. And right now the equation would be x minus 5 squared plus y minus 6 squared equals r squared because we don't know the radius. Let's pick a point that's on the circle. They actually gave us 2 of them, 2, 2, 8, 10. Normally I would do 8 and 10, but I'm actually going to do 2 and 2 in this case just to show you something. Use 2, 2, that's what I'm going to do. So 2 is my x value, so it goes in place of x, 2 minus 5 squared, plus 2 is my y value, so 2 minus 6 squared is equal to r squared. Now this is negative 3 squared, this is negative 4 squared. When you square a negative number, it always gives you a positive number. So this is positive 9. If you use the calculator, make sure you put negative 3 in parentheses before you square it. And then plus, negative 4 squared is 16. We add those up, that's 25. That's equal to r squared. Now we want r, so there's one last step. Square root both sides, and what we get is the radius equals 5. And that is the end of the notes.